Okay, I'm going to start with introductions. Terrance, I'll start with you. If you can introduce yourself, your major and degree, year you graduated, and what you're currently doing in your job.
Okay, so I'm Terrance Campbell. My major was business administration. My degree is business administration, major operations management. I graduated in 1997. Right now I got a couple of different jobs. My main job is the president and CEO of a nonprofit HIV prevention agency that we developed back in 1996. The uniqueness of our organization, Your Center, is that it's faith-based. And so over the 26 years that we've been in existence, we've got 60 plus scholarly artifacts to conclude about 30 plus peer-reviewed articles. We're in 8 different states across 9 different denominations, 350 different faith leaders, 40,000 congregants. We actually do cybersecurity work as well, and looking at biological viruses as well as electronic viruses. We've helped Ann Arbor over the 26 years get about or secure about 600 million in technical capacity building research funds as well. And I'm pursuing an EDD at Tennessee State University right now, focusing on cybersecurity and learning analytics. Did I get everything?
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Great. Amanda, do you want to go next, please?
Yep. I'm Amanda Coon. I work for Plante Moran. We're a CPA firm. I'm a tax manager. I've been here for about 7 years. I am focused on healthcare and higher education. So aside from the University of Michigan, which I don't do tax for them, I probably work on the majority of the universities and colleges in Michigan. And I also work on probably, if you go to the hospital here in Michigan, probably work on that too. I also focus on senior care, so retirement communities, a lot of the tax for that. I graduated from U of M in 14 with my BBA and in 15 with my Master's of Science in Accounting. And I just stick around U of M because I like to, find the brightest talent there and drag them into the CPA world.
Thank you. Roy?
I feel supremely unqualified to follow those two people, so I should just hang up right now. I wish I was wise enough to to learn something that was tangible, like cyber, which is hot, or finance. I was an English and theater double major in my undergrad at Wabash College, and I got a master's in theater history and criticism because my parents said, study what you like. And then I realized I wanted to eat. So later, with my husband's encouragement, I got my MBA through UM-Flint, the Net Plus program, which I loved. I graduated in 2007. It was very transformative for me. I loved the cohort learning. I loved the landscape of the campus. I felt like it was, you got the U of M model, but you had people looking out for you. And it reminded me of my undergrad where I went to a little liberal arts college, and, the professors had you over for dinner. It was one of those kind of colleges. So I loved that about U of M Flint. I currently am the director of marketing at Clark Hill, which is a law firm Michigan people know very well. Obviously, we've been known for years in labor employment, automotive manufacturing, litigation, but people don't always realize we are one of the largest law firms in the country now. We have 26 offices across the United States, as well as in Dublin and Mexico City, 650 attorneys. We just opened a new office in Denver that's focusing on cannabis. And we're AmLaw 105, which, people out of legal don't care, but American Lawyers, a magazine that ranks all law firms by revenue and growth. And so we're knocking on the door of the AmLaw 100, which is kind of a big deal. And I've been there 3 years. It's been a really great platform for me. I was in healthcare at Oakwood Healthcare, which eventually merged with Beaumont in the early 2000s until about 2011. And then I went to work for Dave Trott. So this gay liberal from Ann Arbor went to work for the Republican foreclosure king of Southeast Michigan. But that was fun. And I got to know attorneys really well and work with the attorney mindset, which is unique and wonderful. And the intellectual curiosity of attorneys is great. And when you can have that kind of conversation from a marketing perspective and help them find their voice, because they get the money, I don't. You know, they get the origination credit. I help rich people get richer. So that opened the door to legal. And I've been in 3 different law firms, Kerr Russell and now Clark Hill. I'm also really active in the Legal Marketing Association, which is our international organization of people who do what I do. And I was just named president-elect for next year. So there's my little bragging moment. Thank you. Terrance. Appreciate the applause.
Well, we'll start with you, Roy, since you just finished.
Oh.
Do you have any advice you would like to provide students as they approach graduation and prepare for future careers?
I would say, you know, my husband and I have this disagreement. He studied engineering at U-Flint in undergrad. His dad taught at GMI, so he did internships, and then he went to automotive. He's currently at Tenneco as director of program, as a senior program management manager. His title is manager of program management, but I'm always like, that's your title. You know, he was always on a path. He wanted to be in automotive. I had a very serendipitous career. I still do. I think you have to know yourself. And if you're zeroed in and you have a goal and you want to do that, pursue that. And I think that works for some people. But I think for some of the rest of us, being open to whatever opportunity presents. And it's a little like, you know, in the cracks in your driveway, when the water gets in there and freezes, it gets bigger and bigger. Sometimes you have to take the job that might not feel exciting, but gives you the opening to do something else. So my first foray when I moved up here to work at Deloitte Consulting, didn't like that. Oak would have been a client. They hired me as system analyst number 2. That was my title, quite auspicious. But that gave me an opening in an organization that allowed me to move very quickly. And pretty soon I was director of corporate planning. And then I was a corporate director of planning and marketing there, because they saw something in me and I was willing to take that job that might not have seemed so terribly exciting. But in a year or two, because I'd worked hard, I'd listened, I was attentive. I think that theater training actually works as much as my MBA, because I read the audience, I know what they're responding to. I know how to kind of bring the room together. That has helped me in my career. So, you know, my advice is don't look down your nose at an opportunity if it's in the right company or directionally sound, and then make the most of it. And while you're there, the other thing I would say, I don't know about you, when I'm talking to someone at a cocktail party and I can tell they're looking over my shoulder to see if somebody more important is walking in the room, I don't like talking to that person. And I don't like having that person work for me, that I can tell we don't work for fun. We work because we want to pay our bills and we have ambition. Don't telegraph that to people. You know, just be in the moment with the person you're with, do good work, have a long game, but don't let the person you're with know that, because they're going to feel like, why would I give you other opportunity? You're ready to leave already. And I've had people come work for me and they almost, the day they start, say, what's my next title going to be? When am I going to be promoted? I'm like, I just hired you. What are you talking about? You know, give me a moment to get to know you, and then we'll come up with a plan for you. So.
Great. Thank you, Roy. Amanda?
Get comfortable with LinkedIn. You know, especially if you're in the business world at all, networking is extremely important. And it is, for some people, it's probably the most painful part of the job. Most people think that as an accountant that I sit behind a desk all day and then all I do is stare at a computer. It's like literally the last thing that I do. Yesterday, I drove down to Toledo to take a client to dinner. You know, I spent 4 hours in a car for an hour-and-a-half dinner. But networking is so extremely important. And if you can get yourself on LinkedIn, you know, look at a couple of other people. I'm not going to say that my profile is perfect, but it kind of solidifies who I am and what I'm doing and what I'm interested in. And it gives me a little bit of, like, if somebody goes to my profile, they know a little bit about me, so that if they were to have a conversation with me, then they have some background. And you should do the same, because potential employers are going to look. We're going to look at your LinkedIn. We're going to see what you're doing out on Facebook, on Instagram, those things that you think might be hidden, you know, from when you were 17 and drunk behind the football stadium. You need to get rid of those now, because those profiles that are out there for the public consumption, they will be looked at, and you really want to have a professional business presence. So that's my stump speech.
Thanks. Terrance?
So I would echo Roy and Amanda. I would say to Amanda's point, you need to understand, though, there is a huge difference between Facebook and LinkedIn. Huge. I mean, there are some unspoken no-nos that I've seen people in the background reamed for posting Facebook type stuff on LinkedIn. Okay. I would also say the very cool thing that I do like about LinkedIn, which is, I mean, is people. And when I say people in face, meeting people in person, just go out and say, hey, Roy, I'm a student. Hey, I followed you. Make sure that you follow folks, though, and be able to tell them specifically a point, okay, or something that they've done. Hey, I like this, what you said. I would like to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. Wolverines especially will eat that up, okay, because that's just, you know, that what we do. One of the other things I would say is that for me, you know, I've always heard that luck, right, is when opportunity meets preparation. Okay, you're always making yourself ready for, like Roy said, that you don't know what your next great moment is. Okay, but you do want to be in a situation where you can take a battering ram and knock down opportunity's door, grab him or her up by the hand and shake him. So you're ready to go. And for me, it's funny Roy mentioned GMI, because I'm actually from Flint, and so I actually got my first big break at my sophomore year in high school, because GMI had what's called an AIM program, 6-week residential program, globally competitive. Totally changed my life. I said I wanted to go to college. I had no clue on what college was like, and GMI is college on steroids. So while I did not do well enough to get a scholarship to GMI at that time, it was AC Rochester. It's since been Delphi Technologies. They picked me up my junior and senior year in high school as a database co-op student. Totally changed my life. And literally the day after I graduated from high school, I was an engineering and IT co-op for the state of Michigan. And so I say that to say, if you can co-op opportunities, internships, fellowships, whatever they call them, paid or unpaid. I personally, going back to something that I heard Roy and Amanda say, I personally like unpaid internships, because that's where the grit comes from, right? That's where character is built. I mean, because you got to do things as an intern already 300-400%, but you're giving that up in terms of money. You're giving up other opportunities, and I can honestly say the things that I've learned going all the way back to junior, senior year in high school, from unpaid and paid internships, I'm using today. You know, I'm on a couple of different national committees. You know, I've had the opportunity to lead some National Science Foundation grants. And, you know, I'm published, you know, and I don't have a terminal degree yet. I'm doing a terminal degree now, but there are just so many different opportunities that I've had. I mean, as you see in my background, I'm teaching coding and creativity for Apple on TSU's dime in Africa.
It's pretty amazing. Hey, well, if you ever came across Simone Mola, that's my father-in-law. But
Okay.
It was something Amanda said I wanted to touch on quickly too. I think she's spot on. And I think you will see, and Terrance said this also, know the difference between LinkedIn and Facebook. You will see people who are a little further along. Like I do a number of personal things, like we put our dog to sleep on Sunday, and I actually shared that. I share it in a way that is sort of opening myself up personally to people, giving them a shared experience, gives them a point of connection, but isn't oversharing and is in a delicate spot. And I think it's a little like don't play jazz until you've had some piano lessons. So, but then don't be afraid of social media either. Because I think sometimes then people are like, oh my God, I can't be on there because I did some weird stuff in high school. Okay, you did in high school, delete it and get on with it, but then embrace it. Because I think what we've seen in the past year and a half, at least for me, the attorneys, Amanda talked about taking someone to dinner. Our attorneys, they think that's it. They think that's marketing. They're always like, well, I took someone to breakfast, I did some marketing. I'm like, no, you did some cultivation. That's not marketing to me. Marketing is you writing an article, putting on a webinar, us, doing some direct ABM, account-based marketing digitally. That's marketing. But you need to cultivate after you've made that connection. But they've been limited in terms of what they can do. And so they didn't know what to do. I can't send a pie to anyone. I can't have a party. What do I do? Okay, quite frankly, lawyers, your social skills are not what I want to be marketing anyway. What I want to market is what's in your brains. That's what we sell. So you love to write an article. Let me get you in the press. Let me do a webinar for you. Then you're giving value add to your clients. They will want to pay you for more, and use social media to do it. And don't be afraid of who you connect with either, because I have people do that too. Like, well, I'm only going to take an invite from somebody I've worked with. Okay. Did you have a church you go to? Did you go to summer camp? What colleges were you part of? Those are all people who have jobs or are connected with people who might have companies that would be interested in who you are. So don't be afraid of the concentric circles that LinkedIn provides. So, and reciprocate, acknowledge, because a lot of people just go on blast. If you want people to respond to you, respond to them. We're vain creatures. We put stuff out there because we want someone to say, I see you. So even if you just do a like, a comment, let people know you're there. They are then going to respond to your content that much more.
Thanks, Roy. I'll keep going with you on the next question. What are some helpful resources you used on campus, such as like career fairs or writing center, etc.?
I don't think I used any of them. What I did was I used because of the Net Plus program, and you gotta, those who haven't been through that program, you're in a unique circumstance, because at least when I went through it, you're online much of the time, and every 6 weeks you're together Friday, Saturday. So the resource I used was my own class. And after about 6 months, I'm always that guy. I'm like, I'm setting up drinks after class for Friday. Now, we'd have some people that stayed overnight. Some of us drove back and forth. But using that time together, doesn't have to be drinking. It could be coffee, it can be food. We just gathered after the day. And that made all the difference in the cementing of and so I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. I mean, some of that relationship building that you do after you've had a shared experience, you've been in class all day, you're talking about your professor, we're talking about Mark Perry and his boots, whatever it was, what happened that day, did someone really biff their presentation? You just commiserate, have some fun together. And then that became our tradition every time we got together. I would say the other resource I used to use was we'd all walk over to the water, as it is, and just spend time together on our breaks. If you're in the cohort learning model use that time you are together, because it's going to be gone before you know it. And you're never going to have that unique moment that you're all together at summer camp again. Now, that's not to say, your predecessor, Anna, there were people in the School of Management that I leaned into, asked questions of, things like that. But I was at a different point in my career and life, so I wasn't necessarily availing myself of all the other resources on campus.
Yeah. Amanda?
Kind of the same as Roy. I did not use the resource. Honestly, I went to the career fairs, but only because Plante Moran came into the classroom, and they were my holy grail. When they came in and did a presentation on what it was to be a CPA and what I needed to do and how to get there and what they wanted to see on a resume, I listened to that when, Dr. Miller or Dr. Moreland invited them into the class. So when I read that they were going to be in a career fair, I showed up so that I could give them my resume and have a one-on-one conversation. The resources for me, honestly, I ended up going through back doors to get an interview with my firm, because at the career fairs, you're really vying for all of these people's attention, and it's very difficult. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to get a job. So I submitted a resume through the career fair. I submitted a resume through the like the career website for Plant Moran, and then I emailed HR. I mean, I was a little tenacious because I really wanted to make sure that I got an internship. And that's the thing, like internships are the end all be all. And if you haven't done one, do one now. They're so important. Even the ones that like right now, I know that most of the internships are online or they're virtual or whatever, because of, either the university's policies or the firm's policies or these different organizations. But if you can do an internship, even if it's virtual, go for it. And don't think that because you're, say you're a senior and you're going to graduate in December, doesn't mean that you're too old, like too far along to do an internship. Apply and be willing. That's the number one most important thing. Truthfully, when I went into this field, I was 30 when I went back to school. I was 34 when I interned. I was not, the normal 17-year-old out of high school. I wasn't, going this normal career path that, that you generally think of. And the fact that when I went to I actually applied with Lewis and Knopf. I applied for, the Big Four with Plant Moran, and with Taylor Morgan, I think, and Yo. And Plant Moran seemed to have the culture that fit me the best. So that's who I went with, because they were more than willing to accept somebody that had a weird career path and didn't necessarily have that straight out of high school into college, straight out of college into an internship and straight into a job. So you really, it's never too late to do an internship. So that's my favorite resource.
Thank you. Terrance?
So, being that I lived in Flint, not too far from downtown, Flint, where U of M is, I could walk and all that. So I took advantage of any and every resource that the university would allow me to. And so, and even today, I'm on this brand of me, right? And so, to thy own self, always be true. We all have one goal in common, irrespective of, where we want to work or what our major or minor is, or what we have done up to this point in our yellow brick road, is to make yourself as marketable and competitive as you can. Okay. So that's all of what we're talking about. I love Amanda. I love her story. She was tenacious, right? She said she backdoor. She did what she had to do, with legally, because if it was truly backdoor, then HR really wouldn't have messed with her at all, type deal. So she took a non-traditional approach. Okay. One of my senior managers at Terminex said, start being good at those things that others don't want to do. Okay. That's code word for tenacious for me. And even with interns. So I'm a certified cybersecurity K-12 teacher too. And so I non-traditional internship. So I did an extern with Terminex 2 years ago. So we were their first virtual, to go to what Amanda said, first virtual, best program I ever did. They kept me on and said, we want you to do an internship, virtual internship designed for teachers and high school students. So we piloted that last year. Teachers loved it. Students loved it, to the tune of the National Institute of Standards and Technology has a national cyber signing day, which is basically the cybersecurity version of the NFL. My freshman, okay, he got picked to be part of National Cyber Day. They only pick 4 students a year. The other 3 students are seniors, okay? So to all of what we've said, you never know what your opportunity is going to be. Shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars. And then one other thing I meant to say, I think is just so cool. And Anna couldn't have planned this even better, just the connection that all 3 of us have to healthcare, because a lot of my published work is in health informatics.
Thank you. Right. How did U of M-Flint help you prepare for your job or your field?
Well, I'll answer that. This is how debates go with presidents, right? But I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna comment on one thing. Terrance just said the healthcare thing is connective tissue. The cyber thing is connective. We have a cyber practice that's going great guns. And what Terrance just said, that is a big, that is a big damn deal. Can I say big damn deal? What he described. And I think what I would also suggest to anybody who's watching this, connect with us on LinkedIn. You don't know where we're going to end up and what we're going to end up doing. And there may be a direct line to something we said, or maybe just a conversation you have. And again, don't be mercenary about it. Get to know us, spend some time following what we post and share. And, one of us might have a connection. The other thing is, I know Jeff Antea, who used to be at Plante Moran as their chief marketing officer. He's been a mentor to me. So, and you never know who's connected to whom in this swirl of life. So there's that. In terms of what U of M-Flint did for me to prepare, again, I'm a little like Amanda in that was later to the game. Like when I went to Deloitte, they were hiring people right out of college. I'd gone to graduate school. I'd worked 2 years, and I backdoored, talked my way into a job to be a business analyst there that I wasn't qualified to have. So I was there with other business analysts who were like 23, and I was 28, and they were like, "Oh, grandpa's coming," and I'm like, "Yeah." So I've always, my MBA, I felt older than everybody else, but don't be ashamed of that. Don't be afraid of that. So for me, what it did for me in terms of preparing me for my career, I was already in my career. I was halfway through my time at Oakwood. I'd already been promoted to corporate director of strategic planning, but I felt very self-conscious that I had an English and theater degree and a master's in theater. And I was convinced, and my husband was convinced, that if I ever wanted another job, they'd look at me like, how did you get here? So what the MBA did, there was a lot I knew already, but it cemented it, it codified it. And quite frankly, it gave me the courage and the confidence to know that what I knew was valid. And it gave me a badge of honor to say, I've got this, it's from U of M, it's a respected institution. And it's interestingly enough, when I finished the program, my boss was relatively new to Oakwood, Mary Zatina. She'd come from, she'd been working with Granholm. And she came over and she took over marketing and planning. We were part of the same division, and I was heading up strategic planning. And she said, "You just finished your MBA. Now, usually when someone does that, they want to leave. What can I do to keep you?" I was like, "Well, how did you?" Like, she's like, I was wanting to leave, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just wanted to leave. And so I said, "Well, why don't you let me run marketing too?" And she goes, "Yeah, you're right, because planning's doing this really good stuff." At the time, marketing at Oakwood, they were not listening to the doctors. They thought they knew better than everybody else how to communicate to the market. They weren't paying attention to the strategic goals of the organization. And I knew from Madhu Anger, marketing begins with strategic planning. And it's a continuum that in the middle is the part people focus on, how you communicate. And then you need to measure and come back to the strategy. So I integrated all of that with what I'd learned from him. And I said, "I've had one class in marketing, Mary." She goes, "I'm not worried about that. You have the goods. You've got the credential now, you can bring it all together." And I think what U of M-Flint did for me is it gave me that courage to take on that big task, to pivot my career more toward marketing when it had been pretty esoteric healthcare strategic planning, which, if you know that world, is weird. It's facility planning, it's certificate of need, it's demographics, it's market share. It's not strategic planning necessarily like it is in other places. So if anything, yes, I got a lot out of the classes. They were robust. I developed a great network of people that I still lean into this day. They show up for my shows I'm in. They come to my plays, and they sponsor when I do fundraisers for Ronald McDonald House. But it gave me that courage to be my most authentic self in a way that I wasn't ready to be. So.
Thank you. Amanda?
I came out of U of M with a fairly high GPA, and I did it later in life. And it gave me the confidence to go into a career that I knew really nothing about. Because, I mean, you go to school and they're like, "You're going to go to these accounting classes and learn accounting." You don't. You learn the base knowledge. You go to communications class. You don't learn how to communicate. You learn the basics of what you should be doing when you communicate. You go to, negotiations class with Dr. Lawrence. That was my favorite class. I love that class. I had no idea what I was doing. And it really, like, I don't think that I won any negotiations. I'm terrible at it. But I learned, like, how to communicate with people and how to get what I want, right? And that was really helpful. It wasn't necessarily like the career fairs or the advising or anything like that that helped me. It was the confidence that I got in myself from being able to do it on my own. And not that I did it all the way on my own. I had like a little, crew of 5 or 6 people that we did I spent a lot of time in those little rooms that they have up on the School of Management, studying and doing group projects and all of those other things. And I learned how to do group projects. They drove me crazy as a student. I hated doing them because, in every group, you've got, the overachiever, who wants to run the group and is very bossy and annoying. And then you've got the one person that doesn't want to do anything. And you've got, the middle people that are just happy to participate in a little bit. But you take that out into the real world, because on our teams, I've got a team of 5 or 6 people, and I'm still doing the overachiever bit, but I've learned how to navigate those people that don't always want to participate 100%, because you have to learn how to communicate with them, because we all have different personalities, we all have different characteristics. And that's really what I took away from U of M, was how to get into those groups and actually accomplish something. And this is totally off of that topic, but y'all need to learn how to get on camera. The fact that those of us presenting are the only ones on camera is a deficiency.
To be fair, I told them to turn their cameras off because it's recording.
Oh, that's fair. But in general, get used to it. Call your mom on Zoom and get comfortable having conversations with her. Call, one of your professors, have these one-on-ones, because in the business world, and later in this, I will probably tell you that long-term virtual is not going to be a full-time thing. No. You can't take clients out to dinner virtually. You are never going to get to a manager and above level if you're just virtual. I have been asked that question at every career fair. Everything that I've presented at is, can you do virtual internships? Can you do virtual, staff positions? And the answer is, yeah, but eventually it's going to time out and you're going to be stuck at the same level for forever. So, in one hand, get used to being virtual for part of the time and get comfortable with this camera stuff. That's how you're going to get jobs, because a lot of these interviews are going to be online and you're going to have to be able to do a virtual interview, but also be willing to go where you need to for the jobs, because long term, COVID is going to go away eventually. We're not going to be locked in our houses for very long. And soon you're going to need to be out there in the real world, and you have to go to where the jobs are. And you can't work from your bedroom forever.
And be willing to shame people when they don't come on camera, even though they've been instructed not to be on camera. Go for it. Just go there.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah, I will say, practicing on camera is something I even need to work on. I don't present that much, but we do present at our department retreats, and I had to do it virtually this year from my office, and I get distracted more with the camera and everyone being in gallery view, and I'm not at a podium in front of them. And then my notes are on the screen next to me and not, on note cards. So I noticed just last week that I do struggle presenting because I haven't practiced enough in front of the camera. So,
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Terrance,
and do work with someone who, and I'll volunteer if someone wants. It takes 5 minutes. Have somebody do this with you. I work with a guy in legal marketing. We do a monthly talk show called Legal Marketing Coffee Talk. That's just a notch above Wayne's World, and I used to sit at a different side of this table, and I had this busy background that I thought was really great. And he goes, no, this is pretty busy, but he's like, that's fine. And we spent a Saturday afternoon. He said, move your camera a little bit, move your this. And it wasn't rocket science what he told me, but I just like when I do community theater, you have a director, they're the audience, let them give you that feedback. And for your notes, pro tip, just print them out. You don't need your keyboard during one of these things. Close your Outlook so you're not distracted. Look down at your notes. Keep your camera up and pin your face right below your camera. So it looks like you're looking at the camera when you're looking at yourself, because no one wants to admit it. They're more often looking at themselves. They're not looking at anybody else on the thing. So just go steer in the curve, pin yourself below your camera, and it's going to look like you're looking right at the audience. There you go. Sorry.
That's okay. Terrance, how did U of M help you prepare for your job and field?
I think first and foremost, and I'm gonna say this about Wolverines in general, we're used to being the center of attention. We're alphas, right? And so to be in a room, to be in a lecture hall of 600 other alphas, you have to say, look, what is it that I'm alpha-ish most about, right? Or you can take the path least travel, which I did, help me to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, with the unknown. And so being uncomfortable with the unknown, I was able to just go do almost anything, that I wanted to do along the line of internships and, all the cool kind of stuff, because I had been with AC and I had been with the state in terms of engineering. So I went to the co-op office and said, I want a co-op, but this is not what I want because I've already done there. I was at the bank. I did Park Davis stuff. And then, they were like, hey, Johnson Controls and Lapeer has this job that nobody sign me up. And so, I went there. They hired me 3 months before I graduated, like the beginning of the fall, spring semester. You know how much stress I didn't have? Not that I wasn't still going to get A's, right? But I am the light at the end of the tunnel, right? I need a job. And so 3 months before, and I'm an operations management person. I loved IT, but IT, that was Windows 3.11. That was way back pre any of the stuff that we do today. I said, let me put in the LAN system, not knowing that the person that I was reporting to knew the CIO for Prince Corporation. Anybody know where Holland, Michigan is? Way over here. I like doing this. We can do this with Michigan. I love, Johnson Controls had taken over Prince Corporation at that time. I said, what do you think about me getting a master's degree in information systems management? Because I need information faster to manage businesses faster. I was 25. I went over, negotiated a job, a senior level job. 2 weeks later, I was over there. So it has given me, I can be put in a room with anybody. I can ask for anything. Hearing no is not going to tell me, it's not going to kill me, but I don't have to always show that I'm the smartest person in the room. I can just sit, take notes. I don't even have to give, when they say people know anything, I don't even have to say it then. But if you ask me, okay, then it's okay for me. Because most time folks know that I'm from U of M and they know how we as Wolverines are.
Thank you. Roy, have you ever been in the hiring position, and what are some do's and don'ts for resume and interviewing?
Yeah, I'm going to let you in a dirty secret. I hate hiring. I don't enjoy it. I think when you're interviewing, you're like, oh, this must be fun for them. It is not, because generally it's come at the consequence of someone has left, someone you knew, maybe you saw I just had somebody resign last week. And I'm going to miss her because she was an incredibly hard worker, but I'm also ready for a new thinking on the role. So there's some opportunity there. But what you don't see behind the scenes is I've had to navigate maybe a chief operating officer, a CFO that's like, do you need this position? Do you really need it? Maybe we could get rid of the head count. What are you going to do with it? I have a boss. It's like, well, why do we want to change the role? We're going to change it. What are they going to do? Do you know all the things they're going to do? And I'm like, again, my theater training kicks in and I'm like, I'm going to cast for culture and talent. And once I get the right person, the role might evolve, but I can't tell you right now all the things that are going to happen until I figure out the chemistry of the person. And if I've got two, it's like when you're in the middle of the room tap dancing, playing the tuba and everybody's saying faster, quicker. Why can't you sing too? It's like, I don't need all this. So I'm got all that happening. And now I'm sitting down with a candidate just trying to get to know them. And what I look for, quite frankly, is someone who can be authentically themselves and just have a conversation with me, and can bring their A game, and also has done just a little bit of research. Like, you don't need to know my middle name and where I went to elementary school and any of that kind of stuff. That creeps me out. But look at my LinkedIn. Look, God forbid, look at the company's website. It's real easy. We marketing people hand a lot to the interviewees that they don't pay attention to. And then especially when they're coming for a marketing role, I'm like, can you please look at what we've done? Because here's my only trick question. Usually I just want to get to know the person, want to know what motivates them, want to know what their path is, where they get excited, things they love to work on. That's what I want to get to know. And then if I feel like the person's a good culture fit, then I'm going to go forward with it. That's hard for me to coach someone because they don't know my culture or what I need. But I would just say, be yourself. And if you don't fit, then you don't want to work there. Don't get upset that they didn't want you. There will be another opportunity. But the question I asked that always I can tell if they prepared or didn't, and it's marketing. Looking at what we've done, do you have a recommendation on missed opportunities or things we could do differently? And if I get a blank stare, I'm like, you haven't even bothered to look at what marketing we're doing. Why would I hire you? I want you to be a self-starter. I don't want you to be spoon-fed. And also, if I tell you it's a safe space, it's a safe space. Be critical. Again, to Terrance's point about Wolverines, we are used to people who are critical of things. I can take it. And that's generally going to be the person I'm going to hire. If they have a personality, if they're engaged, I don't even care if you have much background. I've been overruled a few times in a couple of people that people are like, well, this person had background in legal, we need to hire them. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. This person who didn't, I didn't have background in legal when I got into legal. I figured it out pretty fast. So I'm not that worried, especially in like entry-level roles like a marketing coordinator. I don't necessarily care if you've worked in a law firm. I just want to know that you have the basics down, you have a brain, you're engaged, and you're willing to have a conversation with me. Because if you're able to have a smart conversation with me, then I know you're able to do that with the attorneys. Because with the attorneys, they're sizing you up like you're a summer associate. They're like, do you have a brain? Do you even know what law is? And the minute somebody says something that doesn't resonate with the attorney, they never want to work with that person again. So that's what I have to hire for and look out for when I'm hiring. But I just would lead with, know that we're probably not enjoying the process any more than you are. So let's make it the most fun we can when we do get to talk.
Thank you. Amanda?
Come with some interesting questions. Because number one, if I'm in an interview, there's no way I'm going to tell you what salary is. I don't know what salary is. I don't work in HR. I might know what I started at, but that was forever ago. So it's completely different than what it is now. Your job that you're interviewing for might be audit instead of tax, or consulting, or technology, or, I mean, we have so many different industries that I can't even keep track. So I have no idea what your salary is. So if you're going to ask me, my answer is going to be like, I have no idea. Please ask HR. Research the company, spend 5 minutes out there looking at what we offer. Ask intelligent questions about that, because if you just come to the thing and you're like, how much am I going to make and can I work from home, my cringe meter just goes off, and I'm like, this person just doesn't care. They just in it for the money, and they're going to be around for 2 years until they get their bonus for passing the CPA exam, and they don't have to hire or pay back their hiring bonus. So my initial instinct is going to be like, yeah, no, let's not even put them through to the second or third interview, right? Because if you talk to me on campus, I'm the first interview, right? Or if you talk to me in like a Zoom or a online virtual interview, I might be your second interview. There's still going to be one along the lines with a partner and somebody much higher up. And then there's all the calls with HR. The interviewing process with us is extensive. So bring your A game. You want to have a page of questions written. That was what I went with. I went in and I had I had it written on like a handwritten note, like a note card. And they're like, do you have any questions? And I was like, don't judge me, but I have these. And they were like, hit me. Nobody's going to judge you for coming with a list of questions, right? They're going to be frustrated when you don't ask any. when your only questions are, how much am I going to make, and can I work from my bedroom? Because those are the ones that it's like, yeah, you're not really in it to win it, and you don't really want to be a part of my team. You just want to like get the job. So those are the number one and number two things. You know, there's also, don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone. When when I interviewed, they were like, do you want audit or tax? And I was like, yes, but can I do forensics too? And they were like, sure, let's sign you up for all these weird things. You know, go out there, and when you do your research, look and see. I mean, I'm guessing that when Terrance interviews, there may be the predominant, you know, job that they're interviewing for and that he's looking to fill that position, but there's probably like parallel jobs out there that might actually be a better fit for that person. You know, you go onto like the website for Plante Moran, the first one posted is going to be tax and audit, right? Those internships, the full-time positions. You scroll down, by the way, you can scroll down for a while. There's healthcare consulting, there is forensics, which seems really awesome. And it's like the sexy job. It's the worst one. Don't apply for it. I tried it out. It's not nearly that fun. But there's like a whole list of different jobs. And honestly, it's one of the things that like I tell people, like, go and look at it, because you might find out that like, hey, I actually find cost reporting to be pretty interesting. Like, I want to work with hospitals, so maybe I'll go for that one, because nobody ever applies for those jobs. We have to like get people in tax and audit and then be like, hey, I have this thing that I want you to try out. And then they work in it and they're like, oh, I love this. So if you go into it, you're more likely to get a job when you're willing to go like out of the norm, right? Don't just apply for the basic jobs. Don't go and apply for just the marketing job or just the accounting job or just the finance job. There's so many avenues. Do not limit yourself. Yeah, that's about it. I'm sure I'll have something to stump on later.
Thank you. Terrance?
I would say all of what Roy said, all of what Amanda said. I'll say it a little bit differently, in that I like to manage and eventually develop into leading motivation. Okay. I can't create that. You got to get out and do your due diligence, research. I mean, you guys have got it way easier than any of us have ever had. You got Facebook, you got LinkedIn, you got all kind of digital anything. Okay. What I would say in terms of hiring, because yes, I do, get yourself out of the consumerism side of the house. How can the skills that you have help advance the mission of the business in the context of an internship? What is going on in the real world right now that is an opportunity for the business? Okay, there's always opportunities, even in COVID. All business sectors are not sucking gas, people. That's not the way the economy is developed. Okay, companies have put in a huge amount of digital infrastructure. Okay, we are the Jetsons today, and COVID, all right, two things, regardless of what field you're in: telework, cybersecurity. Okay, cybersecurity is everybody's business. It's not just techies. It's creating what's called a culture, and we got enough techie folks that flip switches and all that cool kind of stuff. We got enough software, but what we don't have enough of are people in different departments. I'll say legal. Legal is cybersecurity. Oh man, whole lot of stuff. If just doing auditing, okay, marketing. Ooh, marketing got a whole lot of stuff going on, aside from the fact that a lot of very savvy hackers, bad guys, the evil empire in cyberspace, they're starting to understand how to embed ransomware in logos. Did you just hear me? Ransomware in logos, in Performa, and all this stuff that's about building community, which is what I heard Roy say, right? But how many teachers at U of M do they say marketing is about community, right? It's a different type of group. It's a partnership. It's long term, right? So understanding, what's going on in the real world. The first thing I get up at 5:30 every day. Okay, because I had a paper route, Flint paper route. Now, whether I get out of the bed is a whole different thing, right? Getting up and getting out of bed is two different things. But when I finally get out of bed, I do USA Today, I do CNN, and I do Google News. And what I'm looking for are similar themes throughout all of that. And I'm tasking our young folks, hey, why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know that? What's the importance? Where's the opportunity for us to enhance our triple bottom line? And we have a meeting every day before it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock. We have a meeting. Give me the answer to those questions. Give me the answers to those questions. And those that can't, when it comes time for, I need this or I need that, well, I needed answers to those questions. I'm not just asking y'all this stuff just for y'all to hear me. These have things that are tied to my performance metrics that when I got to go talk to the CIO or CFO or Roy or Amanda from some of the other contracting things that I do, they not looking for me to look, you had no, oh, that's how Wolverines look. I mean, seriously, I would get that type of response because I'm dealing with Buckeyes and Hoosiers and all these other, that's not U of M, type deal.
Don't tell Terrance I got my master's in theater at Ohio State, okay?
That's cool. But but I'm glad you said that because one of the cool things, again, this is great, Annie, I'm sure. I do video game development. Video game development is one of the ways that I teach cybersecurity. So animation and video game development. So I'm always this theater, this storyboard kind of guy. And Terrance, you just so filled with drama. And I'm like, life is drama. You have to navigate it to the best of your ability. Every day.
Amen.
Every day. You should have the best director's cut every day.
Thank you. Roy, what was one of your proudest moments at U of M-Flint?
This is going to sound ridiculous, but I'm going to out myself. So U of M-Flint was one of the few schools where you could get an A+. At least in that plus program, you get an A+. So I said to my husband, I said, now you've never seen me as a student. You don't know what I'm a little laser focused, a little crazy, because I had parents who were like, you're going to get an A and everything, or we'll disown you. So I first quarter got A pluses in I remember class 2 or 3 classes. I'm like, well, next term, A pluses, next term, A pluses. And then it became a thing. Like, I'm going to get an A+ in every class, like an obsessed screwball that I am, until the final term. And we had one of those adjuncts that floats in from space because someone else isn't around. Happened to my husband too. And he gave me an A. Right? He didn't know he could give A+. And my husband said, you need to go to him and say, you've got A+ all along. And A+. I go, I'm not going to do that. What do I want to go? I don't have enough gold. I want more. And so he quotes me to this day that I was like, I've done fine. I'm good. So I'm embarrassed yet not, because I said it, that I have almost a sterling record of A+ through the program until my very final class where I got an A. And then my husband wanted me to go to the professor and demand that I get an A+. I'm like, I can't. I needed Amanda's negotiation class because I wouldn't know how do you even have that conversation with somebody. But I also, the truth of the matter is, I'm also very proud of the friendships that I created while I was there, and that they've lasted more than a decade after graduating, and that we still stay very close. So,
Thank you, Amanda.
I didn't fail gym class. And U of M makes you take, like a health and PE class. And I'm I mean, like, honestly, I have a state championship for cross country, but when it comes to actual like athleticism, I am a complete and utter failure. And I actually managed to get like, so I ended up graduating with, I think it was a 396, and it was because of health class and my gym class, because I got a B in that one. So I didn't fail that. That was like my favorite thing about U of M, is that I managed to do better in college in gym than I did in high school.
That's a great one. Terrance?
So I have to say three things, right? So the first would be that I am, guys, I think I'm up to like 12, 13 peer-reviewed published articles, right? And I don't have my terminal degree, right? And I'm running a nonprofit organization. That's huge. That's major. I mean, that's like, a very small percentage of folks that have done that. I think the second one would be my interview that I had for the EDD program. Gosh, this was about 3 months ago. And the first question I get is, why do you want to come to TSU? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you've done research with U of M and all these other Big Ten schools and all of that. And I'm like, oh, wow. But, it gets back to what we have been saying today, Roy, and man, it's about people, at the end of the day, you're going to hear a whole lot of things about organizations do this and organizations do that and all. They don't do that without people. It's people systems, okay, that make things work. And then I would say the third thing, and I know it's going to sound kind of mushy and kind of corny, but I think this is, probably been this interaction today has been one of the things that I'm most proud of, because again, Annie, I don't think she could have done a better job, of bringing the three of us, people like the three of us together. I mean, this is what it's about for me, at the end of the day, it's the pack, and we've got to give, the Cubs pearls of wisdom, and to have, an attorney, to have marketing, and then IT and nonprofit. I mean, that's the gambit. I mean, it's STEM, and marketing and legal, and those are the three major industries that really make the world go round. So no, this has been great. I appreciate it. Any other time that I can be of help, definitely going to be reaching out to Amanda and Roy, because one of the, on my bucket list is be able to become an expert witness for cyber. I mean, we need, before I had been on the fence, and before doing the EDD, it was, do I want to do a terminal EDD, a PhD in IT or ed leadership, or did I want to go do a JD in something like cyber or IP? Because the challenge that we have today globally is that most of the law is it's physical, right? And so being able to transfer those laws that are on the books to cyber requires case law, right? Which requires somebody that likes to do a lot of research, techie person and all that, right? And you're going to more so get a techie to do that, go to the legal route, than getting a lawyer to go the tech route. So no, so I'll definitely, like I say, be bugging Roy and Amanda, and then Amanda's company, Plante Moran, does a lot of cyber audits and all that kind of stuff for the state as well. So I'm down Detroit, mostly Southfield, and then they got that office right there off 75. So thank you all so much. This has been awesome.
I would say with all your publishing, you're already well on your way to being qualified to be an expert witness, for what it's worth. So you stay on that path, and you just let people know about it. Use your digital channels to let people know what you're writing.
Yeah, there it is. See, we tie. That's what Wolverines do. We tie it all together at the end, put a nice bow on it.
Yep. Okay, so
you can come talk to the IRS for me.
We have a good friend that works for the IRS. She just got promoted as a manager for cyber stuff for
Nice.
the IRS right downtown. So I can definitely connect you two if you want me to, Amanda. No problem at all.
I spend enough time on the phone with the IRS at this point. I'm
No,
good.
but see, then we get you to have the face to face. Remember, that's that virtual stuff. We get
Oh,
you to have the
no.
face to.
I have
I
that
wish
too.
we hadn't
I'm
even
good.
mentioned them on this call, because now they hear the alerts are up. They heard IRS. I know how cyber works. Now we're all marked. Thanks a lot, Terrance.
But you know what? I'm glad you did mention that. I do want to close with something though. Once stuff is out on the internet, there's no deleting. There's no, once it's out there, because there's this concept, right? It's called IoT, or the Internet of Things, which means that a lot more things are connected to the internet that traditionally would not be. But the IoT is about gathering, analyzing, and sharing information. Okay, so you got these things just at a foundation that are called routers and switchers that help the internet, right? They got their own memory now, so you can wipe them off of one, another one has it, all that cool kind of stuff. So, and I'm sure you all have heard about folks in high school, teachers, more so it's been teachers, right? They've done stuff in high school and then they lose jobs. That's very real. Because going back to what I said, the brand of you, right? At the end of the day, in Royal Test, because this is his world, most businesses look at you as a walking billboard for that company.
Right.
You're a liability for the company. HR is not to support you as an employee. I mean, it's certain stuff they got to do, right, legally. But at the end of the day, HR's job is to protect the brand.
And there's the Internet of Things. There's also screenshots. So definitely just mind your P's and Q's. And if something's out there and you think you've deleted it, at least have a good story for why the photo exists, because that'll be an icebreaker, if nothing else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could go on and on. This has been awesome. Anytime you all need me to come speak, Annie, Amanda, Roy, anything that you all need speak, let me just reach out.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for volunteering. I wanted to let everyone know that's viewing and the panelists that we just created a School of Management Student Alumni LinkedIn group, specifically for students and alumni to interact with each other, especially for alum that would like to post jobs and internships and offer mentorships. So you'll get an invite for that. And then anyone who's viewing, just make sure you reach out to these panelists to LinkedIn, like they said. And thanks again, everyone.
Make sure you come to the career fair tomorrow.
MICKAY MOUSE.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.